see, Fightful Select is reporting that Danhausen, the meme wrestler of all meme wrestlers,
King
right?
of the
And I
meme.
think whenever they signed Danhausen, I think it was on our show. And I think you said it. You said, "Look, if you're going to sign meme wrestlers, you might as well get the meme wrestler." And they brought him in from Ring of Honor. He's been with the company for years, and you know, I he's a hard guy to book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he can't wrestle, and AEW is where the big boys wrestle. I think that's their slogan, something like that. But I got the Fightful story. It says in the summer of 2025, Fightful Select reported that Danhausen's contract was slated to expire. However, AEW ended up extending the contract due to injury time. Here's my question: how could he get injured? I never saw him wrestle. Okay,
He was injured. Every time they did bring him in and do something with him, he did get hurt. Donovan Danhausen has a unique talent. It
yeah,
just isn't wrestling, right?
yes,
And I remember I wrote it when he first signed. I wrote a piece for WrestleJoy on how they could that because I used to write for WrestleJoy because how they could integrate him into the Warner Brother Discovery family and how he could. And I related it like I used to watch this show called Grandpa Al's Drive-In Theater where it was this like it was like a Mystery Science Theater thing that Grandpa Al from the Munsters would host where they would show these old monster movies. And I'm like, this is perfect for Danhausen. You bring
yeah.
Danhausen back. You bring this. He gets to host like a Svengoolie type of deal. He'd be amazing at that. That never happened. It just didn't. It just seemed like a bad marriage. It never
Yeah,
really clicked. And then he must have pissed Tony Khan off. Like
he
they just
had.
for every reason to extend him or to not use him. I got a Danhausen mask behind me because my kid, when I took him to his first wrestling show in kindergarten, which by the way, what the fuck was I thinking about that? I took my kid to his first wrestling show in kindergarten and he made a big Danhausen sign because I'm like, this guy, he has something. I like him as an individual. It just wasn't a good fit. And then like he ingratiated himself to the wrong people and pissed off others. And like it's like, well, he was a Phil guy, he was a punk guy. So is Dax, and that guy is like on TV
Yeah.
every week. Like I don't
Brody
know.
King is too, and so is Darby Allin.
Yeah,
I don't think that Tony's holding things against people because of who their friends are. Right.
right. I think there's been a lot of stories, and he'll be like, it's not true. We don't know. We just hear
Yeah.
stories. But I mean, whatever
So
happened, he pissed people off there.
yeah. The story goes on to say, well, he'll have that freedom. Oh, so Danhausen was not however, AEW ended up extending the contract time due to injury. Danhausen was not used whatsoever after this, and Danhausen actually wanted the company to let the deal lapse so he'd have more freedom with merchandising and bookings. Well, he'll have that freedom relatively soon, barring someone foreseeing contract extension that would make sense. So it says his contract expires in February of 2026. So there you go. What is Danhausen's future? He is friends with
NXT.
CM Punk. I don't see CM Punk out there like telling WWE to sign up his friends. Like I don't think he's got that kind of stroke.
I don't know if he's got that kind of stroke, but I definitely think he would advocate for Danhausen because
He
I do
would
think
work.
I think he could work in NXT.
Okay.
I think Danhausen in NXT or in TNA, quite frankly, makes
Watch
a
your
lot of
fucking
sense.
mouth, JD. Don't do that to me, all right?
Am I full of shit? Am I wrong?
Hey,
You don't think Danhausen would work in TNA?
JD, are you going to sit here and tell me that fucking Danhausen would work on AMC, the home of The Walking Dead? You think that would work? Fuck no. Like that makes no sense. Like Danhausen and Rosemary would fit fine on TV. That makes no sense to me.
Okay. You were selling me hard on that for a second. Yeah. We had a friend who actually had this really good idea for a Danhausen segment in TNA years ago, and it could actually still work to this day. I think that could actually happen. Now TNA is doing some weird things, which we'll close on. So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I could absolutely see Phil Brooks advocating for Danhausen to be in either NXT or if that doesn't work in TNA. And what's the difference, really?
Yeah, I mean it's like brother and sister, with that. So yeah,
Like Paul and Katie
I think we were all kind of like excited for him, and because he was the fun meme wrestler. And look, not every wrestler in your company has to be like this great worker. It's okay to have stupid fun characters that you just have on your show. And Danhausen was one of those. So Orange Cassidy kind of the same, except for he can actually wrestle. He's actually a really good worker. Yeah, but like he was a dumb fun character that could be on in the mid card. The problem is that he was a really good worker too, and like his style ended up working well with AEW, so they're able to put him in some of the main events. But he's just like a recurring character that's probably going to be embedded into AEW forever. I think some of us had hope that Danhausen would be that, but it's never worked out.
No,
So
and it's okay. Sometimes you go places and things just don't click. There's been a million guys like, dude, Bret Hart and WWF or WCW. That was the thing that just didn't work. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, like I remember the NWO and WWE didn't work. Like sometimes people, like on paper, you think this could be good, this can work really well, and it just doesn't.